Hello there. Welcome to Real Possibilities with AARP. I'm your host, Will the Thrill Stoner. AARP is the largest 50-plus, not-for-profit, nonpartisan, membership, mission-driven organization. We have 37 million members across the country, 2.5 million members in New York State, and more than 500,000 members right here on Long Island. My role at AARP is to ensure that people of all ages and abilities can live their best life in the home and community of their choice. The way we do this at AARP is through service, education, and advocacy. Today we're talking about hunger. Some of the things we do through service is we actually help people enroll in programs like SNAP, food assistance programs. We help them get connected to local food banks so they can get access to food. Education, we talk to different community groups about why SNAP is so important, and nutrition, eating right, staying active. And of course, advocacy. We advocate at the local level, the state level, and the federal level to break down the barriers so that more people, especially older adults, have more access to nutritious food. I'm thrilled today that we have two anti-hunger warriors with us, Jenna and Christine.
Thanks, Will. Thanks for having us.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, I'm glad you could be on. We'll start off with just some quick introductions. Jenna, tell us a little bit about yourself.
So I actually moved from Washington State to New York in order to work on this project. I was asked to take on this role as an AmeriCorps Vista volunteer with the AARP Foundation, AARP's charitable arm, which does a lot of focus on hunger. It's one of their 4 core areas. And so I am a recent college graduate from Western Washington University, where I studied international development, particularly focused on access to human needs such as food, and was really interested in focusing within the United States on this hunger problem that we have here within our own area, and particularly on seniors, which has really grown in recent years.
Great. So from Washington State all the way to New York.
Yes.
Okay, that's a big change, right?
Mm-hmm. It has been. But
yeah. So you're liking New York, though?
I do.
How could you not, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Awesome.
Wonderful place.
Christine, how about you? Tell me a little bit about yourself.
Thanks, Will. So I've been here at AARP New York for about 7.5 years, and this is kind of feeling a little full circle because when I first started at AARP, working on community outreach, as you do, my first role was supporting your work out on Long Island. So it's really nice to see that we're able to really focus in on all the great work that AARP is doing on the island on so many issues that really, really affect the lives of people 50 and over. So it's really great to be here.
Yeah, great. And not only are you working full-time, but also going for your master's in business administration, which is awesome.
I am. I'm really enjoying being in school many nights of the week at Baruch Zicklin School of Business. So yes, that's something that helps me work on my work-life balance, for sure. Work, life, school. I know how that goes. Exactly.
But that's good, though. It's a testament to how much we can actually do when you do time management. Absolutely. But you guys really are in the forefront of helping to break down those barriers for people who need access to food. So, I couldn't be more thrilled that this is actually our first show with AARP's Real Possibilities. Jenna, do me a favor, talk a little bit more about AARP and the foundation and how you're working with them as a VISTA to actually break down some of those barriers.
Right. So it's through the foundation, we have a lot of support, both financially and otherwise, because they do a lot of research, seeing exactly where the problems in hunger lies and how great that they are, and that inspired a woman, Karen Paddock, to plug into the VISTA project, and she actually placed 13 of us in different states to really focus on hunger in each of those localized communities. And I've been really lucky with my placement in New York City and the New York State office, because Christine has built such a pathway already to really have a lot of hunger projects with the SNAP Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program application assistance and really spreading the word. But what I've been able to do since coming on board is spread this program that's done so well in New York City out into Long Island, where it's relatively new, but we have a lot of great local partners here, such as Island Harvest Food Bank and the Health and Welfare Council of Long Island, and North Shore LIJ,
Harry Chapin, Harry Chapin, Long Island
So
Cares, are a great partner too.
A lot of organizations that are working on food locally, and we've been able to plug in and use some of our reach and our great volunteer base to really get on the ground and connect people with this and benefit through doing outreach, through starting to have one-on-one application assistance events, and by actually following up with clients on the phone. We keep a record and can call and make sure that they were successful with their application and weren't hung up over something silly, and just see if it's enough, if they're doing okay, or if they need to know more about food banks in the area and other things like that.
Wow, that's a lot. I couldn't be more pleased that actually New York is one of the 13, because with Christine and the work that we've been doing for a couple of years now, the problem is evident on Long Island, and it's not just a Long Island problem. Obviously, it's a problem nationally. Christine, can you help kind of frame out that issue a little bit? How severe the problem really is?
Sure. I'll first mention how pleased we are to have Jenna in our state office, because it really allows us at AARP to be able to work on SNAP outreach more than just the macro level issues that we work on, but we can really get on the ground and really see that the need is there. So AARP Foundation is focused on hunger because, believe it or not, over 9 million people age 50 and over are struggling with this problem. And what that means is that you have a lot of older adults in this country and throughout New York and Long Island that just don't know where their next meal is coming from. And so just to frame it from a larger perspective, why is that happening? It's happening because older adults are surrounded by expenses rising all around them. So those expenses range from healthcare costs, unemployment for those older adults who are looking to get back into the workforce. We know that it takes them twice as long as their younger counterparts to find work. And at the root of the hunger problem is poverty, not being able to make enough money to pay your expenses and also afford food. And thirdly, when we look at Social Security and how much money people are getting from Social Security beneficiaries, it's about $15,000 is the average, and that makes up half of the average New Yorker's income. So we're not talking about people with a lot of disposable income, and all of the other costs rising around them leads to a much larger hunger problem among older New Yorkers than most people are aware of.
Yeah, and as a resident of Long Island myself and responsible for Long Island for outreach for AARP, I hear this every day. I hear from individuals who are struggling to get reemployed in this environment, and when you are 50 plus, it's twice as long, if not longer, and it's a shame because older adults have so much more to offer in the workplace than they're given credit for.
Absolutely.
And it's great that we're actually putting some meat on some of our programs to actually help retool older adults so they can get back into the workforce and some of these technology advanced workplaces, and some of them may have been out of touch for a while, but it is a big problem. I'm shocked that when I hear about how many people are actually living on Social Security on Long Island and maybe a small pension. Mm-hmm. I can't imagine. With the cost of living on Long Island, with taxes and transportation costs and food costs and heating oil and everything else that's going on in all of our lives. Yes. Just keeps going up and up and up, and Social Security cost of living adjustment doesn't make up for that, and then medical costs on top of that. So I can see why people are saying they're under this strain and they need help, whether it's applying for SNAP or just having access to a food bank in their community and knowing where they are. Yes. So that's why I call you guys Hunger Warriors, because you really are doing a great job at breaking down those barriers. Jenna, talk a little bit about how we do the SNAP enrollment events and what they might look like and what that all means.
Yeah, so currently we are able to do 2 SNAP enrollment events a month, one in Suffolk and one in Nassau, so we can cover a wide territory. And so we do a mailing to let people know about the event and really explain what the program is. A lot of people haven't considered applying for SNAP before because of stigma, and we really try to help break down those barriers and say it's okay to ask for help. It can allow you to buy more nutritious foods. You're juggling a lot of different things, and from talking to clients, I feel like a lot of people think that they can skimp on food when it comes to the crunch time and they have competing necessities, but then that could lead to later health problems and a lot of issues that are really just devastating and completely preventable. So we let people know about these events. They're usually set in very neutral spaces, such as a senior center or a library, and we ask that the directors promote it within their internal community as well. And then for 4 hours, we just take appointments and sit people down and help them fill out the application, answer all their questions, make it really smooth. Don't have to wait in any lines at the Department of Social Service office. That's a huge thing. And then they can do do the interview via phone, and we can help them make photocopies of their documents and just really track the whole process and make sure that it's a comfortable one and not one that is uncomfortable.
The community approach is brilliant, right? That's what we figured out, especially Long Island. No one wants to travel more than 15 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
Some people can't. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you're bringing this to community is really a stroke of genius, because I was fortunate enough to witness the one in Riverhead, and it was a really moving event for me to see people getting this help and seeing the change in that person from before they went into the room to talk to someone to when they came out. And the stigma, it's tough because, people don't want to feel like they have their hand out. But what I say when I talk to a group about this is, would you deny your basic STAR exemption and your taxes? Would you deny your enhanced STAR exemption because you're a senior? No. That's a couple of $1,000s or more. It's the same type of benefit. If you are eligible, you should apply. And it resonates. People still hem and haw a little bit, but when you start talking about it in those relations, people start to connect a little bit more to, okay, maybe I do need help and maybe I need to ask for this.
And you know what, Will, you just made me think, you make a really good point. If you're eligible, you should, or if you think you may be eligible, or if you've heard about the program and you want to find out, many people assume, and wrongly assume, that they're not eligible. But what we know is, and especially out in Nassau and Suffolk County on Long Island, huge numbers of older adults specifically are eligible for SNAP and not receiving it. And the reasons are varied, but eligibility is actually more relaxed for people 60 and over and for people who are disabled. So while many people assume I'm not low income enough or I'm not bad off enough to ask for help, often seniors in particular think that someone is worse off than me, a family with children needs this more than I do, so I'm not going to take away from someone else. But it's really important to know, and what Jenna and I do in the community is let people know that by seeing if you're eligible for SNAP, by receiving SNAP, which was formerly called food stamps, by receiving the benefit, you're not taking away from anyone else. It is a benefit that if you're eligible, you receive it. We often compare it to Social Security. Once you're eligible, you can receive it. So we like to constantly re-emphasize these misconceptions that exist about SNAP in the community.
Can you talk about the multiplier too for every dollar that's spent? I think that's important for viewers to know that when they actually do get the benefit, what it does for the community. Absolutely.
So benefits for SNAP are put on an electronic benefits transfer card, an EBT card, and they can be used at most grocery stores, bodegas, supermarkets, wherever you do your food shopping to buy food. And what most people don't realize is that, think about when you go to any grocery store with your debit or credit card. You're buying food, but you're also going to pick up some other things that you need. And so people, when they go to the grocery store with their EBT card, end up spending more money on food because they've made that trip to the grocery store. So what that means for the local economy, for local business owners, is that for every $5 in SNAP that's spent in the community, $9 goes back into the economy. So that's almost double. So it's actually a huge benefit to the community for residents to receive the SNAP benefit because it's a federal benefit. It comes down from the federal government to the states. New York State is only responsible for the administrative costs. And so when that EBT card with the SNAP dollars for food is in someone's hands, when they get into that grocery store, they're more likely to spend a little bit more. And a lot of people think, are worried about being a drain on the system, when in reality, when you use that card, you're in a way giving back to your local economy.
Yeah, and what I love most recently is there's green markets popping up all over the place, or organic markets that are East End farms on Long Island alone. I don't know how many there are, but there are several, and you can even use your EBT card at many of those to buy fresh produce directly from the farm. What better way to give back to your local farmer than that, especially when it's difficult to farm in this environment on Long Island.
Yeah, and that's also something that a lot of people don't know about, that when you receive SNAP, you can use your EBT card at a lot of farmers markets. It's something that helps people feel more comfortable about buying nutritious foods, because as Jenna mentioned, everything that you put in your body leads to your health and well-being. And particularly for older adults, if you're not getting the nutritious meals that you need, that could greatly affect your health. It could be very detrimental to your health. It actually even leads to things like depression, reduced brain function. Why do we want our kids to have school breakfast, and school lunch? Because that's what helps them learn and grow.
Well, it almost sounds cliche, but we know from surveys that we do at AARP that people are actually turning down their thermostats to dangerous temperatures. They're skipping meals, they're cutting their pills in half. They're doing things that are detrimental to their health because they can't afford enough food to stay healthy. So they're looking at all their expenses, but food is one of those things that you have to fuel the body to keep going, and especially in this environment that we're in right now. But Jenna, can you talk a little bit about more on when someone actually enrolls and they're approved? What is that process going forward, and how much can someone get?
Right. So it's actually a couple of different steps, which is part of the reason that assisting people and making follow-up calls to make sure that each step is completed is so important. It starts with a 6-page application that can either be done in hard copy with a volunteer or online, which is nice because then you can quickly submit it and the Department of Social Service office has it immediately. Otherwise, we recommend mail. You could even track the mail and make sure that it arrives and have that extra level of comfort. And then there's supporting documents for proof of identity, of your expenses. We always tell people and really stress to report their medical expenses. That's the #1 reason why people who are receiving the benefit aren't receiving as much as they're actually eligible for, as they don't realize that they can report their walkers, transportation to doctor's visits. That all counts, and it's acknowledged that those are very real costs that take away from what can be spent on food. So report that, and report income to determine eligibility and residence, and then there's a follow-up interview just to confirm the information, make sure it's all clear, and at that point, after the office has received all the information and had the interview, the client will receive a letter saying that they most likely receive benefits, and giving them a card that Christine mentioned, the EBT card, which is really nice because it looks exactly like a debit card. You call the back of the number, you set up your PIN, you can track how much is on the card, and you just go to the store, select EBT, swipe it, and you're good. It's automatically removed, and really easy to use, very discreet, which some people are worried about because they're still thinking
it's that stigma piece again.
Yeah.
So one thing that I hear in the community when I talk about SNAP is the minimum benefit. I'm only going to get such and such. So what I always turn it around and say, well, let's say it's $17 a month and you don't use it for 2 months. Now you have $34. That's more than a meal. That could be for a single person, a couple or 3 meals if you budget properly and do your meals right. Talk a little bit about that. Yeah,
so another thing that I've heard some of our partners talk about as an encouragement is even the minimum. It's like getting a coupon for your favorite grocery store. You're not going to ignore the coupon. It's still nice that you can get some things that you wouldn't be able to otherwise. And as you said, you can compound it over time. The range for a single person is from $15 to $189. However, on average, people who are over 60 are usually receiving closer to the higher end at $170 a month because of all the expenses that are being reported and the higher income wage that you are eligible for SNAP for if you're above 60. So it can really be a benefit for the population that we serve, and so that's why it's very important for us to spread the word about this to people who wouldn't consider it otherwise.
Right, and that goes to the statistic, right, Christine? What is it? How many eligible adults over 60 are not actually applying?
So throughout New York State, it's about 50% of likely eligible people 60 and over are not receiving the benefit that could be. On Long Island, the numbers are even more alarming. We're looking at about percentages in the 80s of people who are likely eligible but not receiving this benefit. So for those of you who may be watching and know someone who's struggling to make ends meet, it's great to connect with us, connect with AARP, or connect with one of our partner organizations Jenna mentioned.